I want to welcome you again to another class of the Redox Doc video curriculum to focus in on cellular health and the way redox chemistry supports that health. Tonight, what I'd like to do is make reference to the connections between our redox potential, our redox health, and the autistic spectrum. As we all know, there's been an epidemic of autism and the autistic spectrum, which includes many conditions that are kind of linked into this one term. Essentially, by the age of 3, children are found to have less eye contact, less verbal expression. They tend to have less smiles, and their words and ability to comprehend words are greatly impaired. In essence, they live kind of in their own world. So we've seen an uptick, a huge uptick in the incidence of this condition. And people are trying to sort out all the various factors that play into bringing this about. There are many factors, environmental and genetic. And tonight I want to focus in on one very important environmental factor that has to do with redox chemistry. Yes, this aspect of our physiology is critical in supporting or creating an environment that will lead to deterioration of a person's ability to function or even prevent the incidence of this condition. So even 5 years ago, the incidence of this condition was 1 in 150 births. Today it's 1 in 45. And I go back to the beginning of my career some 35 years ago, far, far less. There are way more boys than girls, about 5 times more incidence in boys. And so we've got a big problem. And in essence, our brain is an intricate system of cells talking to cells. And how do they talk to each other? The connections between the dots, essentially, are biochemical reactions. Our thoughts are actually chemical reactions. Neurotransmitters, they're called, are produced in one cell, and that chemical message is sent across a little gap called a synapse to another cell. If that chemical message is received and transmitted properly, and then those chemicals are reabsorbed by the originating cell, we can think. We can think properly. And different parts of the brain are involved in different aspects of our thoughts and actions, our ability to perceive, our ability to contemplate, even the ability to have proper emotions. All are located in different parts of our brain. Our brainstem is busy helping us breathe. It's in charge of regulating our heart rate, things like that, basic functions. But way up here in the frontal lobe, this is where we contemplate the truth of things and understand relationships between people and such. So these complicated things we do are simply chemical reactions. And so redox molecules are involved in the production of those neurotransmitter chemicals. They're involved in the receptor that receives that chemical messenger. They're involved in the reuptake and also in the manufacturing. So in every aspect of our thoughts, redox molecules are critical in making a simple thought happen. So as we've learned more and more about this condition of autism, one thing we've discovered is that if mothers during their pregnancy take folic acid every day, they reduce the incidence of autism in their child that is born. They also reduce the incidence of other neurological conditions that involve neural tube defects, they're called. So yeah, nutrition is important. But if you take a look at a child that has autism and you actually analyze some of their cells, you'll discover that glutathione, as it is used and oxidized through chemical reactions as it's trying to scavenge free radicals and toxins, is found to be more in its oxidated state than not. Meaning that in the cell and in mitochondria, these glutathione, it's almost as though they're tired. They're not able to do their work. They're sluggish, and they're not accomplishing their tasks in children that have autism. So remember, glutathione, its job is to help our cells detoxify, help protect our cells from the damaging free radicals, help our cells protect themselves from chemicals and toxins. Well, hey, what have we got more of in the last 40 years or so of life? We've got a lot more chemicals in our air, in our water, in our foods. In fact, the packaged food industry has become the centerpiece of our American dinner table. We're eating out of boxes and bags way more than we ever did before 1970. So is our body able to handle this? That's determined by glutathione and other antioxidants like superoxide dismutase, catalase, and so forth. So glutathione is kind of like think of him like a strong man, and he's going to grab a hold of a toxin in one arm, and he needs another charged molecule with the opposite charge right near his other hand, handy. And if he can grab one of those and bring these quickly together, he can neutralize a toxin. That's his job. But if he doesn't have the raw materials to work with, I don't care how strong he is, he's just going to be holding on to these damaging free radicals or toxins, and they're not going to be neutralized. These little charged particles are called redox molecules. They're the most important tool for a glutathione molecule to have right in his grip. And if they're plentiful and in balance, we're going to be more likely to have activated glutathione instead of oxidized glutathione. Okay? And that's just one of many things that have been studied to help us understand why this problem of not being able to properly process information and interact with our environment, which is characteristic of that autistic spectrum disorder, is so prevalent. So what could we do? Well, it is possible to supplement our body today with stabilized and balanced redox molecules. And as we consume them, we're providing resources to the body, just like providing folic acid to the body is just as vital. Only this is deeper. This redox molecules actually help folic acid do its work and the nutritional chain of our basic central nervous system actions. And likewise, without redox molecules, glutathione, I don't care how strong your body is producing it, if it's not going to have the resources to work, it's going to be sluggish and sitting around in its oxidative form. And that's going to do no good. So I hope this helps kind of put things into perspective. We've got many things to contend with, many environmental factors, genetic factors. Yes, there's a greater incidence of autistic spectrum in parents who give birth to children later in life. We know that's true. But it's not just our chronology. It's far greater. There's a book that you may enjoy reading called Grain Brain by Dr. David Perlmutter. This book talks about how our nutrition affects the quality and health of our brain and leads to help us understand why we've seen a deterioration in our overall health, an increase in incidence of conditions like autism, Alzheimer's, and things like this. And we're creating an environment within us that puts us at stress. So as we seek to find a better balance, to improve our nutritional health, it's critical that we provide this molecular resource to our cells in the form of redox molecules to open up the pathways to allow us to produce those little chemicals that we think with, and to help the cells take care of themselves, clean up the internal environment of our body. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next class.